Good morning. Hello, hello. Hi, Ray. How's it going? Hope you're having a good day so far. Hi, Plaza. Oh my god, I'm so tired. I'm so eepy. Why does it have to be like this on rainy days? Oh, it's not even rainy, it's sleeting. Very good, since your streak is intact. Let's go. I have coffee, Jay. I'm always super groggy whenever it rains. Anytime it's cloudy, it's not as bad if it's just cloudy, but if it's raining, I enter like extreme cozy zone. I'm just glad that I'm not working so I can enjoy the extreme coziness at home. It's rainy and cold here. I did not want to get out of bed. I literally got out of bed 40, not even 40, 20 minutes before stream. That's why I'm kind of a little bit late on things. But let me, oh my god. I woke up at 6 in the morning. Just, I guess naturally, but I'm glad I did because my cat was fucking choking on my blanket. It scared the shit out of me. Because I have these fleece tie blankets, so they have the ties on the ends. And she has this thing where she likes to, if she gets really cozy, she likes to start licking the blanket and suckling it. It's like only if it's fleece. It's kind of a weird thing. Like she's got specific needs for her, I guess, needing suckling behavior. But she'll start like sucking on the freaking ties. And usually she's perfectly fine. She doesn't choke on them. But like I heard these weird little sounds coming from her and I was like, what the hell is that? And I was like half asleep still at this point. And I'm like, I hear it again and I shoot straight into like cat mom mode and I launch myself straight up, lean over, grab her mouth, grab the tie, and pull the tie out of her mouth. And it was quite a ways down. Like she was all, oh my god, scared the shit out of me. And so I immediately took the blanket off the bed because I was like, not, no, this is not happening again. It scared me too much one night. I'm not letting you fucking die when I'm sleeping. I'm not letting you die at all. My god. That was my 6 a.m. She was okay. She was fine. She went straight back to purring. So, and cozy right back up. Oh my gosh. Brutal, brutal indeed. She was like, yeah, I'm gonna just casually try and choke in the middle of the night, or I guess in the AM. Have fun. Oh my gosh. Then I went back to sleep shortly after. Oy. Gotta love it when your cats give you like the biggest random scares ever. She's exceedingly bad at it though, because one time she has a thing with crinkles, and she had this red crinkle toy, and she decided that she was too hungry and needed to fill her stomach with whatever she could find, I guess. And she ate part of the crinkle toy. and, and then the next morning, I didn't know she ate it. The next morning, she had thrown up the crinkle toy, but her vomit was dyed red from the red in the toy, and I thought she had thrown up blood. I was freaking out. But like as I was cleaning it up, but she was acting completely normal. I was like, "You just threw up so much blood. Why are you normal?" Until I realized, oh wait, these are little crinkle bits, and it's not blood. It's just dye. She gives me the worst scares for no reason. Ugh, but yeah, no, my cat likes to freak me out every now and then. I'm sure everyone's does. It's like it's part of their job or something. She's on a mission to terrify you at any given moment. She is. They do a little mischief. They do. They do. That's what they enjoy. That's what keeps them happy, I guess. Oh, they gotta live life on the edge. Somehow, right? But I hope everyone else is having a cozy morning and didn't get woken up at 6 a.m. You've been alternating between working and writing all morning. You still working on that? Oh my gosh. I can't wait to see that when you finish. You're cooking. You have like a page and a half now. Oh god. That's gonna be interesting. Best of luck. Best of luck with that. Bum, 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 bum. I think I have my desktop muted so you can't even hear the music. Sorry. Here we go. Working on your evil writings. Wahahaha. Nice. Well, we're gonna work more on the fusion model. Your cursed tomes. Indeed. Gotta have the cursed tomes. Sorry about the yawn. Alright, let's switch over to some ort. Ort. Look, we got her short hair now. I might have worked on her a little bit more after last time. But she's looking cute. Got her some cute short hair, which I think looks adorable. Have her ready to start either rendering some of the outfit and stuff, getting the outfit kind of done. Don't mind the floating bows, it's fine. We could start doing more of the hair, all that kind of fun stuff. Oh my goodness. The short hair is so cute. I know, I love it. It's all spunky. Alright, I do have like the bangs started. So I can work more on the bangs. Is that sketch? Oh, there it is. Without. little bit too big. I really should figure out that one tool where like you don't actually have to worry about going over the line and it colors everything in it. The last time I tried it, it didn't work at all. So maybe I was just using it wrong. Hi, Nico. How's it going? Hope you're having a good day. Hope everything's being nice and cozy. Going okay. Long ass workday plus extra stuff. How are you? I'm doing okay. I'm tired. I'm tired because it's rainy. Well, it's sleeting. So it's cold and rainy. So I'm sorry if I yawn a lot. Hello, Zalotl. Congrats on getting second. I don't know if I said it, but congrats on getting first, Ray. Just having a very chill winter weather coming into effect. Yeah. Getting cold and wet. The epitome of winter. But also we're coming up on the holly jolly season. I guess we're kind of already in the holly jolly season since I opened up my advent calendar. My wine advent calendar. You hope your shower works better today? I hope so too. Homies from out west were like, this is perfect grilling weather. I was cold. Oh yeah, if you go west, it gets a little chillier. In some cases. So it depends on what their temperatures are like. It's not snowing yet, it's grilling weather. Perfect weather, yes. Can use more snow. We don't really get a lot of snow where I'm at. I grew up always having snow, like right around Christmas. There's very few times where we would have no snow. So I'm so used to having a white Christmas that when we moved out here, I'm like, where's my white Christmas? Konnichiwa, Ferocious, how's it going? They didn't replace the water heater yet, but there's at least there's cold water running again everywhere except the showers last night. We've had snow since 20th of November, we need more. We've had snow already? Oh my gosh. And here I haven't seen what snow is even. One day, Ferocious. It's cold, be prepared. You'll probably need to bundle up a lot. Because I went to, oh my gosh, I went to a school where it's really, really, really cold in the winter. Like, winter lasts till like May. There's like snow on the ground till May. And my mother had gotten me this one coat specifically because I was going out there. And it was a really, like, it was one of those kind of puffy coats where it's got all the down in it. And it went all the way down to my ankles. And it zipped up all the way, and then it had buttons going over the zipper so it would block even more of the wind chill out. And it had a really, like, fuzzy hood. So it was like fluff around the edge of the hood, and there was fluff inside the hood and like inside the entire coat. It was so cozy and it was so warm, but it was perfect for that kind of environment. Because we would have blizzards and the university would still be like, yeah, don't you worry. We have our staff working hard to clear those sidewalks for you to get to your classes. We're not closing down. There might be several feet of snow on the ground and it's still blizzarding out, but you can make it to class. Why is it that you always seem to stream when I was studying chemistry? Literally almost every single time. I don't know. It's just the time I stream. Got that chemistry time, I guess. You know, I think it'd be really fun if I was ever able to convince my mother to do a stream with me, because she has a major in chemistry, is to get her to do some science experiments with me on stream. I don't know if she'd be down or not though. Because she asks about my streams and stuff, and she knows that I stream, and she knows, like, all that stuff. But she's, like, she's kind of told me that she doesn't really want anything to, like, actually do with it. But, like, I don't know if that was years ago, so I don't know if that's changed. Or not. I'll have to, like, run the idea by her and see if she's willing to do that. That probably wouldn't be anytime soon, though. There must be some chemistry. Does she like inorganic, organic, or physical chem? She's done kind of everything, really, because I think she majored in just like the physical chem. So more of just like the actual chemical side of things. But she's done a couple different jobs, and she's done a job for a university where she was the lab coordinator. So she had to grow like all the platelets and stuff. So she's kind of done everything. And then my dad has a PhD in biochemistry, so my parents did not skimp on the sciences. You must be good at chem then? Oh yeah, she's great at it. She was an educator too, so like, if I ever needed to have a question answered about anything chemistry-wise, I would just hop right over and ask her. Now, if it was something that was closer to biochem, she would send me to my father, and I would have to prepare myself for an essay-long answer. It's like my dad had great information, but he always would answer in like essay format, and I'm like, Father, please, I only need like this one answer. I don't need to know about all of the intricacies of this one thing. And what led that to being discovered and everything that plays into it. He'd give me like a whole science lesson on just the one thing. You have some really sci-fi parents. I really do. They're big nerds too. Because when they were in university, they had a D&D group that they played D&D in. And I have a few stories from when they were from their D&D campaigns. Apparently my mother was notoriously bad at rolling low. And so she rarely ever got a nat 20. She was always rolling like super low numbers. And so she has this story from her D&D character that she was like I don't know why the characters were at a pub or like a tavern or bar or something, but apparently her character was at the bar and an NPC or something was flirting with her, and she was getting really pissed off at this NPC, so she decided to stab the NPC's hand with a fork, and she rolled a nat 20 for it. That's one of the few nat 20s she got. Meanwhile, my dad's character was a wizard setting the porta potty on fire, so there's that. Oh. You're a physics, chem, and math student, so yeah, I would only be able to get knowledge from you. Yeah. No bio. I don't know if she has. She's probably got some knowledge on it, but I just know that when I was in like elementary school, we would have parent volunteers to come in and do like experiments and stuff, and my mother was always the parent volunteer to come in and do like the science experiments. So all of my classmates thought my mom was the coolest person ever. And she is. She is really cool. So I had the cool mom. Because she blew stuff up in elementary school. Bio sucks. You only gotta read and learn, no practical use, bruh. I'm sure there's plenty of practical use for bio stuff. I mean, my dad freaking hybridizes plants in his garden, so he uses it all the time. I think my dad is like specifically genetic kind of biology. So he's made a couple of hybridizations in the plant world. And I learned not too long ago that my grandfather actually collected royalties on shrubs. I didn't even know that was a thing. But he hybridized some specific shrubs and he sold them to like these big gardening companies, and he would collect royalties on the sales of these shrubs. I'm probably one of the few people in the world who can probably say that I have both a flower and a shrub named after me, thanks to my grandfather. Although I think the shrub has a commercial name to it. You're not talking about practice, you're talking about how you have to just learn stuff without you knowing much of visualizing it, like you can do in physics. Yeah. I have to re-upload the 12-hour celebration VOD because for whatever reason YouTube didn't save the entire video, and so it cuts off randomly halfway through the Minecraft part. So I have to like edit it because the Twitch VOD is gonna have muted parts, so I have to kind of mishmash the YouTube and Twitch VOD together to get the proper like stuff connected. That's gonna be fun. I'm the kind of guy who always keeps away from just learning. Didn't put music in a separate audio track. I thought I did, but no, it's the Fallout part that gets muted. So the Fallout music and sounds, that's what's getting muted because of like the radio in Fallout. That's why. So all the Spotify music is separated. There's no worries about that. So pretty much I just had to cut out the Fallout part and then like mash the Fallout part into the Twitch VOD and then everything is fine. You can always listen to Fallout music outside of the game while playing. I mean, I guess, but that doesn't... It's not the same. It's not the same as letting my enemies know that a bloodthirsty napalmer lady is coming after them while playing the radio and singing casually, okay? It's part of the experience. I want the NPCs to experience the fear of having a radio playing lady just coming after them. With fire and death. Gonna attempt your cold shower now. I hope it goes well and it's not horrible. Honestly, I would prefer to just use like a washcloth in the sink than like take a cold shower. I can't stand the cold. It's like the worst. How's that different? It is different because at least the rest of your body isn't like cold all at the same time. That's how it's different. I'll just wash my hair in the sink too. On the plus side, cold showers, you're so stinky right now. I mean, do what you gotta do. On the plus side, cold showers are supposed to help with what, your circulation or something. So it'll wake you up, I'm sure. And supposedly energize you. Well, not that much, but it's been days. Yeah. You stink-a-lottle. You're the stink-a-lottle. Axolotl. I don't know the whole thing. Baldalotl. Nar. Deal with it. You're not? I mean, you just confessed that you're stinky, so you're the stink-a-lotl. You're an axolotl. Starting to get some bangs. Nope. Deal with it. I need to drink my coffee quicker, it's getting cold. My goodness. Now, one thing I should do real quick is, where's that? Oops. You're here, waiting for Helldivers 2 to update. Welcome in, Hacks. Hope you're having a cozy day. Soon someone is going to get 5,000 plus RPM to the face. Oh goodness. That sounds dangerous. I've definitely gotten back into the Infinity Nikki game. I played a bunch more of it yesterday. Like, I definitely have some issues with it still. But... Infinity Nikki? Yeah. How was the game anyways? I mean, I loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. It was my favorite game when it first came out. Adored the dress up and everything. The issues that I have with it kind of stemmed when a lot of people had issues with it, which was right around the whole dye controversy and stuff. Because they literally had a whole thing in the game, in the event before the dye thing came out, that seemed to kind of allude. They literally made it seem like that was going to be what the dye system was going to be like. And they had it where you were crafting dyes and stuff. But that's not what actually happened. You have a new currency that you have to use for the dye system, and then you had to unlock the color palettes for each piece individually. I don't know if you still have to unlock the color palettes for each piece individually. I haven't checked that out quite yet, but I kind of quit once I learned about all that kind of stuff because I was upset because it was just kind of a scummy thing to do. And there was a couple other issues going on with the game, a lot of infantilization and stuff like that. They did do a bait and switch. There was a lot of fake discounts, which I think they still have a lot of fake discounts in the store, where it's like, oh, you get 70% off, but this is the first time this has ever been in the store, and it's gonna be the only time that it's gonna be in the store, so it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. And then there's the new area. I'm like torn. I like the mechanics and I like the new outfits and abilities that you have in the new area, but the stylization, I would say, of the new area and the lore and the representation and what they say it's based off of, it just feels kind of weird to me. Like, I can't be the only person, because from what I heard is that it's supposed to be based on, like, Mayan, but there's, like, a Colosseum, there's a bunch of ruins, and, like, I do see, I guess, more Mayan style in a lot of the clothes that the mushroom people wear, and, like, the Saintess outfit that Nikki wears. But then they have, like, a full-on Native American headdress that's not really Mayan. And it's just, like, I don't, like, I'm not Native American, so I don't really have much place to say on appropriation and stuff, but just, like, the weird mashup of culture and clothing and lore, it just feels weird. Like, I'm confused if they were trying to go with a whole native and, like, I don't know. Like, there's a Colosseum. It's, like, very Romanesque. And then, like, you have a lot more of, like, the tribal aesthetic on some things. And it's just a weird mashup of, like, Europe versus Native America's mashup. And then the outfits are also really weird mix up too, because they have a super like it's a Chinese company, yes. So, but I just kind of wish that if they did decide that it was going to be based on a civilization, that they had done a bit more research into the civilization and like the lore of the civilization and the aesthetics of it, and really like committed to having it based on that, instead of having it just be kind of a site aesthetic thing that they use and not really actually based on it. Because like I don't really see a lot of Mayan lore in it. And like history, it's just kind of, I'm confused. Needless to say. Like if it's not supposed to be based on anything, if it's just supposed to be like a weird mashup of like tribal and yeah. It really does feel like they did a quick wiki look and called it a day. And it really just took the aesthetics of the culture and not actually, and that's not even like full aesthetics of the culture, it's just like a slight base off of it. I don't know. I haven't done a lot of research, but just experiencing it feels weird, having that weird mixture of aesthetics together. And then the banners that they have, like I'm sure a lot of people find them really cute, but they just feel weird to me for the new area. Cause like they're super like, I want to say Romanesque and like very much like the like Catholic church aesthetic sort of thing. Where it's like you got a full-on priest robe, you got a full-on like the beaded like veil with the big hat, and it just, the whole outfit looks like it doesn't belong in that setting. And then the other two outfits, like one of them makes me think Scheherazade. It's like that, huh? Just the whole aesthetic of the entire thing, it doesn't feel congruent like Wishfield did. Wishfield felt very congruent, and it was like, okay, this is very like Western kind of style. It's got like all those different more modern types of outfits, and like it's got some cute outfits, more like cottagecore and stuff like that. It felt very congruent. And they had their little event where they had like the boat come in. It was a lot more based on Asian culture, fashion and stuff, and that felt congruent. This new area just feels so mashed up and weird. And like the only building that is like is like Romanesque or is like the freaking Colosseum. So I'm very confused about the new area. I like the gameplay, but the aesthetics and the lore confuse me. So there is that. They probably just did a general North America thing. Maybe, but when has North America had a Colosseum? And also, I don't know. Because if they did want to go with like more native stuff to North America, there is so much that you can work with. Because you could go with like, because there's all sorts of history. And like the Mayan civilization is incredibly interesting. There's a lot of focus on the sky in a lot of Mayan architecture and city building, which is so cool. There's the whole like Mayan calendar, which is fascinating to think about, and just like their forward thinkingness of a lot of things. And knowing how to line up buildings with like all the whole sky and the sun and the moon and stuff. It's and like different freaking solar eclipses and what and like everything. It's so cool that they knew how to do that. You know, they had like 3 epoch in their lore. Like Mayan lore is also really cool. I don't know why they didn't just like go full on with that, because there's so much fascinating stuff that they could have worked with. Something about a snake eating the sun. Yeah, I believe there is something like that. The sun is very... A lot of the astrology, or not astrology, astronomic stuff is very important. Which is so cool to learn about. Something about panthers. A lot of animal symbols and sky stuff for sure. And they were very smart people. And there's a couple other civilizations too that have very similar practices and stuff to the Mayans as well in the North Americas, the Americas in general. And then there's also like fully different things too. I know in America there have been some mounds that have been found that are like those kind of pyramid shapes too, that are really fascinating. That shows that it wasn't only just nomadic practices. It's hard to say when that stopped, though. If you can't tell, I love learning about history. You don't know much about history in the America areas. I like to go and visit places and then take a look around and see what the history of the area is. And so I have visited a couple of those kind of like mounds that they found and discovered. They're very similar to the mounds that you find further south that are attributed to a lot of those kind of civilization and like places there, like the Mayans. It's very similar shape. It's like earth mounds though. So like they moved the earth to make these kind of pyramids. Which is really cool. And there's a lot of speculation on exactly what they were used for. There's a lot of speculation that they were actual little towns and stuff, and that there was a whole interconnected, like, trading across as well. But they're not entirely sure why it stopped, when it stopped, if it really was used for, like, a living situation and community center. If it was more of like a religious thing. So there's a lot of speculation on it, but it's really fascinating to learn about. And they're still finding more. Your area of knowledge is sci-fi, space, and tech. I'm not as interested in sci-fi and space stuff. Tech is pretty cool. Some space stuff is pretty interesting. But I mean, I can definitely thank my parents for my interest in watching documentaries and learning history, because the only thing that they allowed us to stay up late for me and my siblings, was Nova. We got to stay up late to watch Nova. Which is this whole like education kind of documentary series that happened at like a certain time. Yeah, Nova. It's like this kind of show. It's about all sorts of different things. They would cover a lot of space, typically. They would cover a couple of more historical things, but typically any like scientific kind of discovery they would really touch on. But it was primarily a lot of space stuff. So we would get to stay up late and watch Nova and learn about space. I think my sister had the entire Blue Planet collection of documentaries that we would watch. So of Net Geo, yeah. I have like a fascination with like the Roman Empire and like Greek history. I think it's really cool. So anytime like I see a documentary about one of those things, I'm like, ooh, let me look at this. Let me watch this. Let me get into it. It's like there was this whole docu-series about the different emperors of the Roman Empire, and that was really fun to watch. And just like the freaking crazy guys that were part and in power. And then their downfall, it's crazy. Love it. And I just think the mythology is really fascinating too. You probably get the lifetime pass for Nebula when you get more free time. Heck yeah. I think I've watched all of the different documentaries that I can find on like the Roman emperors. Unfortunately, I don't remember like every little detail, but I know a basic amount. Might also be why Assassin's Creed Odyssey is my favorite Assassin's Creed, potentially. I do like Valhalla a lot too. I think it's because they have that mythology and like focus on some cultures that I just find really fascinating. I need to make a trip to Greece because I really want to go see the ruins. I think that'd be so cool. Like I've already made one of my bucket list trips, which is to Venice. Because I remember as a kid, I heard about it sinking and I got so sad because I loved how the city looked and the idea of like a city on water. And I was like, I have to make it before it sinks. And I did. I made it before it sinks. So little child me would be so happy to learn about that. The Romans were very advanced for their time. Yeah, it's so fascinating to hear about the architecture and everything and like their expansion and just like the different ideals they had in the society. It's so cool. I actually was talking about this yesterday with a coworker, and then a person that was getting helped like chimed in and started talking about it. Unfortunately, I couldn't have like a full conversation because someone else walked up and I had to help them. But I love talking about that stuff. It's so much fun. Because some of it is for sure proven, and then some of it is still speculation on like why certain things were and how certain things were. Which is so fun and cool. You're doing some research about the self-healing concrete earlier for your sister earlier this year. Nice. The self-healing concrete thing is so cool. Like, we don't actually have the original recipe, or I don't think we can make the original recipe for Roman concrete anymore. I believe that's something that's... Found a few parts for it. Oh, cool. Didn't part of it have to do with, like, yeah, limestone? Use seawater and chunks of limestone are key parts of the healing process. Yeah. They didn't use... Did they use volcanic ash for anything? Or was that something else? No, volcanic ash is actually really good for farming. Now I'm like, I want to listen to a documentary. Hope everyone is having a good day. I hope you're having a good day too, Salary. Thank you. I'm glad you think that. I am awesome. Volcanic ash was the OG as an aggregate? Okay. I just want to listen to a documentary now. I don't know how well that would go over though. Would that be like a copyright thing? I just put like a documentary on from YouTube or something? Would that be worse or better than music? I mean, people watch stuff and make commentary, but the high acid level might help with the self-healing. That's interesting. It might be fine. I mean, we could try it. You guys want to watch a documentary with me while we do some art? I'm probably not gonna have any visual of it, but all right, what do we want to focus on? We want to focus on like a Roman kind of documentary. Learn more about Roman civilization. The complete history of the Roman Empire in 4 hours. There we go. Europe in the wake of the fall of Rome. Ooh. That sounds interesting. That's an hour and a half. Sounds interesting. It's by the history. I think we should watch the Europe in the wake of the fall of Rome. That sounds fascinating. Oh, there's a Drain the Oceans, the rise of the Roman Empire. That's cool. Oh, I already watched part of this, maybe? Has it like a 30 minutes? I might have watched it, I don't know. I've watched a lot of these, but this is like not a channel I typically watch, or not my account I typically watch them on. Alright, we're gonna give it a go and see if we can listen to... Oh god, that's so loud. After the fall of ancient Rome. They always start so dramatic. Do I think with my current knowledge could I? Absolutely not. No, I'm no politician. I don't think I could be able to run an empire. I would need a lot of help. Is that a good volume? You guys didn't even hear it. It's so loud. Oh my god. These are the Dark Ages. Dun dun dun. The good old Dark Ages. Alright, what do we think? We think this is gonna be a good background noise.
People that you know today were dead tomorrow. You couldn't even bury them all. But beneath this cloak of darkness were scattered rays of light.
This is the best thing to listen to and get cozy, right? Like this in true crime. It's the perfect thing to get cozy to. Listening to the fall of the Roman Empire in the Dark Ages. Yippee! This is the coziest thing with the dramatic music and everything.
Flame of progress, while the world around them descended into hell. Ultimately, these stars would illuminate the long dark night and propel Europe toward a new dawn, brighter than any it had seen in 1,000 years.
You know, it is kind of crazy that it feels like it kind of went backwards from a lot of progress, because I feel like the Roman Empire had a ton of progress, and then the Dark Ages like set everything back.
The empire falls. Rome,
You probably could run a good champ against the Outlanders.
Is invaded by a band of dirty, sweaty, smelly thugs.
Dirty, sweaty, smelly
They are the
thugs.
Visigoths,
Oh dear.
a terrifying assortment of heathens from Europe's northeastern frontier. And they've come to declare the death of Roman domination. For the first time in 800 years,
Oh my goodness.
the Eternal City is under siege.
Rome had not ever been conquered by a foreign enemy in the imperial period.
Yeah, it is really cool that like
Of the greatest
just that
city of the
fall
ancient
would
world
cause
being
so much
conquered
devastation.
was absolutely crushing.
Like any sort of, especially with the Roman Empire having lasted as long as it did, and then suddenly having someone come in and actually start defeating them, that psychological impact would be so rough on everyone, because it would be an oh shit moment that they're having someone actually compete with them and be successful. That's like a crazy part of it. Psychological warfare mixed with
For
it.
3 days, the great capital of Caesar and Augustus is ravaged by its unwelcome guests. Stunning architectural marvels that have stood for centuries are burned to the ground. Germanic slaves rise up to enslave their Roman masters. And the city's streets run red with the blood of its own people.
The Roman
Lots of
citizens really are
devastation.
helpless. All they know is that they've had to surrender, that there's no one there to protect them, that these Gothic warriors would have been terrifying.
At the head of the charge is Alaric, a Visigothic warrior who had once fought on the Empire's behalf along its northern frontier.
Well, like the all the internal stuff too of the fall, especially with like the emperors and stuff at the current time, and I think there was a pretty large upset within even just like the own like Roman people with their leadership several times. And that's what led them to be like ousted and stuff. But I think around the time that this whole fall of Rome was happening, there was also like a lot of upset in the leadership again. And there was plenty of ranks that were abandoning, I want to say, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Alaric turned from friend to foe and used what he had learned about Roman warfare to launch his own campaign of
It
aggression.
was like, this guy left. He was like, yeah.
Eventually decided that the
F
only
that.
way he was going to advance was to really put the screws to Rome. So the siege of Rome was, to tell you the truth, a profit-making career move for Alaric.
2 years earlier,
It's like, man, they're not promoting me. They keep skipping over me for promotion. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take the whole system down. That way I get promoted by force. And you know what? It's kind of a power move for him. It's kind of badass in a way to go and be like, you know what? I quit. I'm gonna go and take you guys down because you keep skipping me over for promotion. To be honest, the medieval wasn't as bad as everyone thinks. The tech held a lot of better in terms of tools and building. Medieval times definitely had a lot of ingenuity and brought in a lot of other things, but they also had a lot of like backwards thinking for some things too. But it was also a time of innovation. I think anytime you have like a big like fall of something and people have to rethink a lot of their ideology and values and reset up new kind of empires and civilizations, a lot of innovation happens again.
in 408 AD, Alaric and his rebel army had arrived on the doorstep of Rome itself, looking for power, plunder, and most of all, food.
Also, if you have someone
Anybody wants to
like
look
from
at
the
why
inside
Visigoths
decide that they're
it's
going
because
to
of desperation.
attack, they already know all of the training and how the army is going to interact, so it becomes great to like counter maneuver against them too. Roman made cities, but medieval had more bigger buildings. They did, yeah. No, they definitely had larger buildings and stuff, but they borrowed from Roman architecture as well as older architecture too to help create bigger buildings. And they also invented new ways to have those buildings be bigger.
They need to win.
So it was a mixture of innovation and relying on techniques that were proven to work.
In order to conquer the city, Alaric would first have to strangle it from the outside.
Oh, they did like a starvation technique, didn't they?
Undermine the walls, they're far too large, they're far too secure, and they're far too well built. So he relies on starvation.
Starvation.
Alaric's men surrounded Rome, took full control
One of the
its supply lines, and blocked all
nastiest
shipments of grain
things you
coming
can
into the
do,
city.
but it's effective.
Gradually, the city died from within, and the pall of impending death began to permeate even its most hallowed traditions.
Even in times of utter distress, it was really important for Roman society to continue to have chariot races and killing of wild beasts, gladiatorial combats, execution of criminals. The population was at the show.
It's part of
but they
warfare?
were
Yep,
literally
it is.
starving. And when some
It's effective.
men or gladiators,
That's why it's part of warfare.
killed and they're lying there bleeding out.
Anything that's
on the
effective
sands of
to
Arena, the crowd started shouting,
get a surrender or
"Let's buy that meat."
kill your enemy, that's going to be part of warfare, unfortunately.
That's how hungry
I
they
mean,
were.
warfare is deadly.
Power and glory.
There's nothing pretty about it, really.
By corpses and cannibalism. After 2 years of suffering inside the sealed-off city, Roman pride had eroded enough to accept subjugation over starvation.
It's also a battle of pride. Yeah, that's
On the
true.
orders of a Roman aristocrat, the city gates were opened.
Because either
and the
you...
Visigoths stormed in.
Mongols did worse, though. Oh, Mongols were really, really bloodthirsty and ruthless in their tactics. They didn't care. They were like, anything to succeed, we're doing. It didn't matter what it was. They were gonna win. Oh, what was I saying? I was gonna say something. Right, Battle of Pride, because a lot of the starvation tactic is either you literally starve your enemy to complete death, like no one, if their pride is too high for them to accept subjugation, they will literally just die or become too weak to fight back, and so then you're able to just kind of forcefully take over, or they'll surrender. There's like one of two ways it's gonna go, and it's always gonna be one of those ways. That's why it's such a fully, like, it's a widely used practice.
Their shopping spree turned up tons of treasure, but hardly
Oh,
any
shopping
food.
spree!
So after 3 days, Alaric and his men moved on in search of greener pastures and left the heart of the Roman Empire on life support.
Dang.
A contemporary puts it very well when he says the mother of the world has been killed. That's what people thought, that the mother of the world had been brutally killed in a Gothic sack.
Dang.
While Alaric's sacking of Rome certainly hastened its demise, the mother of the world had been terminally ill for quite some time.
Yeah, it'd been going downhill.
As early as the 3rd century AD, the empire had fallen into the hands of a series of inept emperors.
Ah, yeah, the good old inept
Obsession with personal
emperors.
gain threatened the public welfare and fostered civil war. During a 50-year period in the 3rd century, nearly all of the 24 emperors who seized power were brutally slain by rivals, rebels, and subjects.
Yeah, they had a whole political thing that was not
While Rome
pretty.
gradually imploded from within,
You can send out a messenger for help, though. Sneak a
both
guy out.
natural and man-made, only
How's it
aided
going, Ramon?
self-destruction.
Hope you're having a cozy day. We're listening to some really cozy Fall of the Roman Empire and the Dark Ages while we do some art.
The Roman Empire paid the price for its success. It had become so wealthy and had established contacts with other parts of the world to such an extent that now it was not only importing the very valuable wares of those regions, it was also importing
You're having a good morning?
diseases
That's good.
that came from those regions.
Oh yeah, all the diseases and stuff. Anytime you start large trade, you're gonna get
As Rome's
disease.
population began to dwindle, so did its border guard, leaving its emperors no choice but to hire barbarian fighters like Alaric as mercenaries. But as the Romans became more and more dependent on foreign defenders,
I think there's a
they
whole
also became
French
more openly
cartoon
hostile toward them.
that is based on Alaric, I want to say. That is like... There's definitely a cartoon. I remember learning about that. Oh yeah, your stream You stream on YouTube too? Yes, yes I do. But there's like this French cartoon for kids that's like Alaric and stuff. There's like two guys. French. I think it's Alaric. It's Asterix. Yeah. Asterix the Gaul. And they're like fighting against the Romans and stuff too, I believe. Yeah, it's a series follows the adventures of a small village of indomitable Gauls who resist Roman occupation, primarily through the use of a magic potion that gives them superhuman strength. I knew there was a little thing about that.
When the Goths first entered the Empire, they came really as refugees, and they were forced into rebellion by the treatment that they received at the hands of Roman officials.
Of course.
Famously, the Roman officials allowed slave traders to profit by selling dog meat to the Goths in exchange for children as slaves. And so both the incompetence and the
Is that the
cruelty of
Vikings
Roman
cartoon?
officialdom drove the
It's
Goths
very
into rebellion.
yeah. I don't know if the Gauls were considered Vikings because it's part of the French region before it was like
The leader and
France.
symbol of that rebellion died of fever in 410, shortly after his historic sacking of Rome.
But the Gauls would have been considered like
While
barbarians
he
of
lived
like
to
the French
enjoy much of his
region.
success, future generations of barbarians would.
By like the Roman civilization.
Throughout the 5th century, wave after wave of invading tribes, Goths, Vandals, Franks, Britons, and Saxons, flooded in and fought to stake their claim on the waning empire. Rome's once invincible domain shattered into 1,000 pieces, each one held by a military strongman who wanted to collect them all. The glory of Rome was gone forever,
I'm just gonna come
and
back
the
to these
Dark
pieces
Ages
here.
had begun.
The empire wasn't
Dark
there.
Ages had
There was no
begun.
longer an emperor, and as a result, the world was a smaller place.
The next 7 centuries, spanning from the fall of Rome to the First Crusade,
I think they had used longboats. It's a good chance they are Vikings.
disease,
They might have. I don't know too much about the Gauls.
populations throughout the continent declined, and city life withered.
The amenities and the technology of life, and indeed the scale of life, just got smaller and worse. The sewage systems stop working so that people can't get rid of their garbage the way they used to before. Aqueducts break
Welcome
down,
back, Ray.
and you have wells instead of running water. And as a consequence, the houses get less and less impressive, and people start living in, I suppose, what we'd call shacks.
Yeah, because they had like a
Monuments
backwards.
of Rome, engineering miracles that had defined an unprecedented age of innovation, were quarried for
Before they
quick
went
vengeance.
forwards.
The people who came in afterwards settled next to the Roman ruins, not on top of the Roman ruins, but next to the Roman ruins. They could not sustain the structures that had been there at one time. They took all the stones to make their houses and their own buildings from the Roman ruins.
Over time, even the Colosseum,
It's interesting that they decided to
once Rome's grandest
deconstruct
showcase
the
of
Roman
power and
ruins to use for new
prestige,
housing rather than
succumbed
simply
to the
live
decay
in
of
the
civilization.
ruins.
It
And
became
I
at various
wonder,
intervals a
I really wonder
landfill, a
why.
shelter for the destitute, and a haven for packs of animals.
Like, did they want to
All the
try and
while,
get
its
rid of as much
facade
of
was
that
gradually being
idea
picked
as
apart
possible
by
because they
pilfering
were
settlers who
like it was a
unwittingly
fallen
left behind a hollow
society?
symbol of society's downward spiral.
In the early Middle Ages, people would have been confronted with the fact that there was this once glorious civilization that had preceded them, and that they could, in fact, still see around them. They could see in the road system that the Romans had built. They could see in the aqueducts that were still standing. They could see in the bridges that were still standing in many parts of Europe. And when they looked at those things and they looked at the level of engineering that it took to build them, it must have led them to believe that they had regressed, that life had been better in the past than it was in the present.
The flames that had illuminated life in ancient Rome cutting-edge technology, open trade, ready access to education, employment, and medicine were extinguished amidst the chaos of the succeeding centuries. But despite the undeniable downshift in society's progress, debate still rages about whether it's fair to call this era.
It might be because
the
they
Dark
just
Ages.
used what they had. Yeah, but if there's still buildings that are standing and they're able to be like lived in and you can reside in it, it's fine. Why would you not?
He was comparing this period.
And like, sure,
to
some of the buildings would definitely have had some
period,
damage from
which he
like
saw as literally
war,
brilliant, full of light.
but
And he said, "Hey, by comparison,
I wonder if there's a part of like a psychological part where it's like they wanted to destroy that as much as possible so that people wouldn't go back to it.
In this period, and if you were poor and if you were hungry, things probably did look pretty dark, but that wasn't the case across the board. So there's a lot more to this period than just the notion that people were living in gloom and were gloomy.
In fact, in spite of its widespread chaos, anarchy, and upheaval, or perhaps because of it, this remote period of history would dramatically alter the course of Europe's future. For while the continent was fragmenting politically, a new form of unity was gradually emerging that couldn't be measured on a map. It was not the work of warriors and weapons, but of monks and missionaries.
Yes, the rise of that.
To the people of Dark Ages Europe, the new emperor was Jesus Christ. Christmas Day, 496 AD. The Basilica at Rheims in northern France is bathed in the light of 1,000 candles. The air inside the sanctuary is thick with incense, as the local bishop sends up a silent prayer of thanksgiving. This is a red-letter day for the Catholic Church. This morning, the king of Europe's newest barbarian superpower, the Franks, will renounce his pagan roots and become a Christian. As he kneels down in deference to his new savior, this king, Clovis, will cement not only his own spiritual allegiance, but that of an entire nation.
In France, this is seen as the beginning of France becoming a Christian nation. It was a very strategic move. By choosing Catholicism, Clovis, in essence, united his people.
After Rome's fall,
I need to redraw
Western
some
Europe
of
had splintered
this.
into countless small territories commanded by Germanic conquerors such as Clovis, who overthrew the last Roman governor of Gaul and claimed most of the province for himself. In the course of a single generation, the security and order that had so long stabilized life on the continent was history. And the citizens of the 6th century faced a new world disorder that offered only uncertainty.
They were often not given even that minimal level of security that was necessary for them to enjoy a basic existence. Warfare was endemic, civil war was very common, feuding was common, vendettas were common.
It's pretty
Any
sad that
kind
there
of
was so much
political
war.
problem very quickly.
Imagine
escalated
Romans with
into
gunpowder. Oh my
military problems.
god.
And the people who were often caught in the middle were
That would
people who were
be
trying very
devastating.
peacefully to wrest
Probably a good thing they
land.
didn't have that,
And
but
I think through much of history that's been true. It's the non-combatants that one really has the sympathy for. It's the people who simply get caught up in the fighting, and yet they're often the ones who suffer as a result.
Amidst the unrelenting political turbulence of the Dark Ages, in which loyalties and alliances shifted with the winds, Christianity was the only common thread.
In the period after the fall of the empire, for the average countryman, or indeed the average citizen, life could be very, very difficult. And as a result, Christianity, which offered some sort of hope of eternal peace, was very attractive.
5 centuries after his death, Christ's following had grown from a handful of Jewish converts into a flock of millions spread throughout the old Roman Empire. For the earliest Christians, the road to redemption was paved with persecution. But after 300 years as an outlaw minority, the movement suddenly gained steam when the Emperor Constantine legalized it in 313 AD, after experiencing a divine intervention in the midst of war.
He had a vision of a Christian symbol in the sky, and he heard the words, "In this sign you shall conquer."
But I know the Roman had some China goods, mostly silks. Yeah, I believe they were able to trade with a large majority of like the world, because there was like the whole, it was what, the Silk Road,
Generations after the conversion of Constantine, Christianity
that they were able to get a decent amount of goods
There
from.
was a flood of converts.
Was that the same
to
time?
Christianity. Individuals who understood that it would
Was
now
that a
be to
different
their
time?
advantage to be Christian rather than pagan.
Clovis, the barbarian king of the Franks, was one of those individuals.
Yeah.
As his pagan army extended its conquests deeper and deeper into Christian territories, it became clear that the way into the hearts and minds of his new subjects was through their souls.
As his powers
And then I guess the
spread,
Dark Ages is really when you see a lot of that rise of, at least in like the Europe
really
part,
significant
of religion
population was Roman,
being a large driving
Roman
force
churchmen,
of
bishops.
unification.
As a result, it made a great deal of sense for Clovis to
I think there was the trade fleet China had back then. Yeah, I believe so. That sounds right.
After his baptism, Clovis would have trouble abiding by one of his new faith's golden rules: "Thou shalt not kill."
Ah, yes, thou shalt not kill.
His conversion could do little to quench his thirst for blood. Instead, it only gave
You
him
gotta
more
love that that was a
justification
widely
for his
ignored
military campaigns.
commandment.
Now, they were more than territorial plunders. They were holy wars, fought in the name of faith.
Yeah, we're just gonna ignore that one commandment. It's fine.
Tribal chieftain
Totally
Damascus
okay.
of Gaul really had less to do with religion than with ruthlessness.
Clovis was never reluctant to employ murder as a tool. Everybody was well aware that it didn't bode well for you if you spoke up in Clovis's court. It was much better to keep your mouth shut.
Oh dear.
At the age of 15, Clovis had taken command of a section of the Rhine Delta in northern
He was 15? Damn.
He had inherited a small number of soldiers from his father, which he immediately put to the test, plundering
15-year-old going out, just
and more troops.
murdering and plundering. That's crazy.
When he conquered
Different
a
times.
village, he didn't simply massacre everybody in the village or make them into serfs or something like this. He actually elevated them to the same status that his men were.
We're gone for like 40 minutes. What happened? We're watching the Europe in the wake of the fall of Rome. It's very cozy.
New army. Those individuals created the invincible army that Clovis had.
In a lot of ways, including the ones that
By the time he
you
converted to Catholicism
you
at the
defeated
age of
into
30,
your army
Clovis
and
had
like
emerged
raising them
as
to the same
supreme
status was a
ruler
really
over most of modern-day
good
France.
move.
And he had laid the foundation for
People
a
back
new
then did a
dynasty
lot in their
called the
teens.
Merovingians,
Gonna go. Your phone will
famous
die if you stay
today
too much
as the
longer. Have a
supposed
good day,
protectors
Ray.
of Christ's bloodline in the Da Vinci Code.
Because like you see that in, I think earlier Rome did something like kind of similar where they did like take in people. And is the Roman Empire your Roman Empire? I find it very fascinating, but I wouldn't really call it my Roman Empire. But but I think Rome did something similar when it first started up, is they would kind of take in a lot of the surrounding states and give them a lot of the same rights. It was only until later when they had a lot of the more corrupt emperors that they started doing a lot of like the really bad slave stuff. They might have had some slave stuff at the beginning too, but I think it got much, much worse. And they became a lot more hateful of outsiders because their empire had gotten so big, it was getting really difficult to control a lot of those like city-states. The legion system was really good. Yeah. So it's kind of funny to hear that just kind of being used against them too.
The last thing Clovis wanted to protect was his bloodline. It was customary among Frankish kings to divide their territories among their sons upon their death. So to make sure no one could surface to challenge his claim to sovereignty, Clovis had any relatives outside his immediate household systematically eliminated.
He was like, there's no one who's gonna be able to have any stake.
Lamenting the absence of any loyal kinsfolk.
He didn't mean it. He only said that because he was trying to smoke out any other people who might hold up their hands and say, oh, but wait, I'm still part of your family, I'll support you, so that Clovis could then murder them too.
Damn. Bro, let them eat steak? Yeah.
The only fate worse than being Clovis's relative was being his captive.
Clovis was brutal.
In certain cases, the king endorsed a barbaric Dark Age practice known as the ordeal.
The ordeal? I don't think I've heard of this.
In the ordeal of boiling water.
Oh.
A cauldron of boiling water with a small pebble at the bottom
Oh.
would be presented to the party who was on trial. And
Oh.
the person had to stick their hand in and get the pebble and get their hand out again.
Oh.
And the hand would be bandaged, and after 2 or 3 days, it would be examined by a priest to see if it was healing well or not. If it was healing well, you were innocent. If it was not healing, then that was evidence of...
Damn. One of the many brutal Dark
Water,
Age.
where the person will be thrown in. If they float, that means the water is rejecting them, and they're guilty. If they sink, that means they're innocent.
Oh, great.
They didn't let them drown.
Everyone floats.
Critical to the notion of the ordeal is the idea that God's justice is something which comes down to earth, if you know how to read it. And so while the ordeal might
Yeah, there's
seem
a lot
strange
of
to
that.
us, I think within this world of the early Middle Ages, it very much made sense. God will be on the side of good.
There was a lot of that ideology in
511 AD. His brutality had been legendary.
those torture methods. It's the same thing with the
He had united
witch
the
trials.
barbarian tribes of France into one emerging superpower. the
Same with the
Franks.
if you sink, you're innocent. But you'd still drown anyways. If you float, you're a witch. Burn you at the stake.
He had proven to be a stabilizing force at a time that can only be described as chaotic, dangerous, and dark.
I think there's only a few people that
4
ever
centuries after the fall of Rome,
got out of those
Western Europe
kind of
remained shrouded
situations,
in a
but the
thick
majority
shadow
of them
misery.
were
To
still
the east, there
killed.
was a light shining forth that pierced the night. There, the Roman Empire endured. And there, a new emperor was plotting to restore its former glory by launching a hostile takeover of the West. As his soldiers marched forth from Constantinople,
Oh yeah.
he could never
Oh,
have
yeah.
guessed that his most dangerous enemy was invisible, and
Oh,
it was already in his midst.
disease. Dun dun dun.
533 AD, the Empire strikes back. More than a century after the sack of Rome, an army of self-proclaimed Romans marches forth from the Byzantine capital of Constantinople, intent on recapturing all the western territories that have fallen into the hands of Dark Age despots like Clovis.
That Dark Age despot.
By this time, former Roman strongholds like Italy, Spain, and even North Africa are ruled by so-called barbarians. But the light of the empire still burns brighter than ever to the east, in places like Greece, Turkey, and Egypt. Those territories are still commanded by Roman emperors, protected by Roman troops, and reaping all the benefits of Roman technology and trade. In the 6th century, west and east are like night and day.
For
That's kind of
inhabitants
fascinating.
The western half of the Roman Empire, those who came from the east, the Greek speakers, were effeminate. They bathed too much. They didn't like a good fight. They were always
How dare they bathe so much?
enemies rather than.
How dare they be
pitted
clean?
Whereas people from the Greek east tended to regard those from the west as uncouth, backwards, too ready to resort to force instead of relying
That's
on diplomacy.
crazy. Ugh, they bathe too
The
much.
cultural divide between East and West first turned political late in the 3rd century, when the Roman Empire split into 2 halves, each to be governed by its own emperor.
By having an emperor in the East and in the West, it would be easier to respond to crises very quickly. In the long run, however, splitting the empire into two and institutionalizing this divide between the Greek East and the Latin West left the Latin West at a grave disadvantage. It did not have the material resources that the eastern half of the Roman Empire had.
To be honest, having a layer of dirt might have helped from dying. That is true.
But once there are now two halves to the empire,
There was a whole, I
best to
think,
stand or fall
stigma against bathing for a while during the medieval
While the
times,
West floundered amidst the chaos of
because it was
barbarian
seen that like the
invasions,
water
in the
was
eastern capital of
bad,
Constantinople,
and that it was
business as usual.
it would carry disease, I think, for a
Water
good
flowed from its
chunk of
fountains,
time.
Trade goods flowed through its ports, and the cheers of boisterous sports fans echoed from its arenas during chariot races. There, the dream of Rome endured. When an ambitious emperor named Justinian came to power in 527, he resolved to export that dream back to the territories from which it originally came. Justinian was a smart, shrewd military man of humble roots, who harbored grandiose visions of a reunited empire.
For Justinian to conceive of the idea that he could somehow reconstitute the geographical extent of the empire was a remarkable dream. And what is even more remarkable is that he had some measure of success in achieving it.
That's
In the
crazy.
empire's heyday, centuries earlier,
To be honest, the water might be
Mediterranean Sea had
stagnant.
been called a Roman lake.
That's true. Yeah.
Justinian resolved to resurrect that label. But it would take a massive army and a mountain of cash to buy that much waterfront property.
Justinian relied on various forms of trickery to try and raise the funds that would be necessary to support his military campaigns. He was infamous for not paying his soldiers.
Oh, damn.
And when signing a peace treaty, telling his soldiers that they were going to give up all of their back wages to him as thanks for his signing a peace treaty.
Wow, that's fucked up, man.
That stated that the subjects had, out of their great love of Justinian, decided to bequeath all their property to him. In one especially notorious case, an individual who had been captured by the enemy had his mother collect the ransom to free him, and Justinian refused to allow the ransom to be paid to the enemy.
So yeah, it'd be
This was
bad,
funding the
yeah.
enemy, and it was against the interests of the Byzantine Empire. When the individual died in
Damn.
captivity, Justinian
How'd this guy
predicted
get so far with all of this
from
conning?
the person in captivity, stating that he understood the reason why Justinian wouldn't let him be freed, and instead he wanted the ransom money to be paid to Justinian himself.
What?
Projects
Dang.
like these sent Justinian's approval ratings plunging, and by the 5th year of his reign in 532, an undercurrent of popular unrest boiled
Yeah, people are gonna hate you, man. What did you expect?
Between Constantinople's top two teams, fans of both sides gradually directed their catcalls away from each other and toward their emperor.
I mean, I don't blame
The
them.
unified chant of Nika, meaning conquer. A throng of thousands stormed the palace grounds and held Justinian under siege.
This guy.
Yankees and Mets fans decided to overthrow New York. It was the worst possible situation.
This guy, how, okay. I know this is a common thread with a lot of rulers, like conning their subjects out of their possessions, land, money, all of that stuff. But like, why do they ever think that's gonna go well? Why do they ever think that that's not going to come back to bite them in the ass? Like, you're not helping them people. You're literally like conning them out of the stuff, and you would be angry if someone did that to you, so of course they're gonna hold a grudge, and the more people you do that to, the more people are gonna rise to revolt. Like,
These
literally the most successful rulers have been the ones that have held a balance and have been ruthless to people who
that he was literally
rise up against them
ready to
and try and take power from them, but also very enigmatic to their subjects.
The formidable and beautiful Theodora says, "I'm not going."
There's an old saying that behind every powerful man lies an equally powerful woman. Empress Theodora is Exhibit A. Born and raised in the lowest class of Byzantine society, she first caught
Dang.
Justinian's eye while working as a dancer in a burlesque theater.
She was a courtesan, a performer who utilized sex both as a means of gaining power and also as a means of entertainment.
Those courtesans.
Her act was so raunchy and so popular, the Emperor Justinian fell in love with Theodora.
Most people have the skill of foresight is a pretty rare skill. That is true.
Why? She was beautiful. Even her enemies say she was oh so sexy, oh so beautiful. But she was also so smart. And that's clearly one of the reasons why Justinian fell so deeply in love with her and remained in love with her.
From the
Even the enemies were like, damn.
537, Justinian regarded Theodora as an equal shareholder in sovereignty.
Wow.
And
That's
as that
pretty
sovereignty hung
that's
by a
pretty
thread
powerful
during
of
the
her.
Mega riots, it was
Hello,
the Empress
Buzz.
who pulled
How's it
herself
going?
and her husband together in time to save it.
She says, I'm an empress. I'm not running away. Purple, that's the color of rule. Purple's a great color for a funeral. I'm staying. Justinian was so shocked he didn't go. With Theodora's advice, he calls in the shock troops and slaughtered 30,000
Oh my
fans
gosh.
whom they had lured to the horse racing stadium.
They killed the
Him from
wow.
throwing away his empire.
And then he threw it away.
Having regained his footing, Justinian then ordered the
Well, I guess he
execution of
regained,
all of his
but
prominent political enemies.
wow.
Their opposition now all but extinct, the emperor and empress celebrated their reversal of fortune and shifted their
I don't-
focus back to their ultimate goal.
I feel like they're not gonna
sole
still last
possession
very
of
long.
their own private lake. With the West sputtering
You're doing
deeper
well.
and
I'm doing
deeper into
well. I'm having
darkness,
fun
it
listening
seemed
to
like only an act of God
the fall of the
could
Roman
derail
Empire and
that
some Dark
dream.
Age stuff. It's very cozy.
Justinian and Theodora could never have imagined that one was about to wipe out half of their population and leave 100 million lifeless bodies strewn across
Yep,
the
I
civilized
called
world.
it. They're gonna have a falling.
Early spring 538 AD. In Italy, a Byzantine army is blazing a trail of carnage from Rome to Milan. They are fighting on behalf of Justinian, the Eastern emperor who harbors dreams of a reunited Roman Empire. While
Here we
the
go.
glory days of Roman dominance in Western Europe have long since passed, Justinian is hell-bent on resurrecting them. Town after town, village
That's
after
better.
village falls to his formidable legions. Just as they did in North Africa, Sicily, and southern Italy. One bloody battle at a time, the emperor is reconquering the West, and it looks like Rome will rise again.
The Italian campaign was one of the nastiest wars of antiquity in terms of entire cities being depopulated, entire populations massacred, and
Wow.
just the fact that the countryside was fought over for 20 years.
20
really
years?
destroyed Italy's production.
They fought over Italy for 20 years? That's crazy. How do you... I'm like surprised that they had the willpower to keep going for 20 years. Like, I can't imagine wanting to fight over the same spot. I mean, he's had to have... What in the world? I didn't wake up just now to learn. Well, Jamie, we're learning and we're drawing. It's cozy. I love this. But like, I can't imagine wanting to fight over the one, like a location for 20 years. But I guess he had his vision. He had to have his private lake. Which is wild. Darn you. Yeah, deal with it.
Active capacity for a couple of centuries afterwards.
Wow.
While Italy bleeds,
Wow.
the emperor builds.
Throwing stuff at me.
1,000 miles away in Constantinople, he is dedicating a new cathedral, built over the ashes of his charred capital. While the kings of Northern Europe are building drafty wooden dwellings, Justinian is redefining the limits of ancient architecture.
Justinian is able to use this chaos to build his empire, and he builds his empire by building the greatest symbol of Christianity, the Hagia Sophia Church.
Oh.
All of the rest of the mosques
Okay.
in Constantinople, if you want to go to Venice, St. Mark's, if you want to go elsewhere, even to the Vatican, all of them are imitating Hagia Sophia.
That's fascinating to learn.
No expense. The best marble, the best gold leaf, the best artists, anything that he could do to increase the visual impact as one walked into the cathedral. It was meant to persuade contemporaries that he was a figure who ought to be thought of in biblical terms.
A lot of emperors tend to do that sort of thing. Bro, I'm gonna fall back to sleep. This reminds me of school. I used to listen to these videos in history. I love these kind of videos. They're so cozy.
By 542, his
Oh,
domain extended
and I always
farther
fell
than any
asleep.
emperor in more than 2 centuries, encompassing Italy and North Africa, as well as
We
Egypt,
started talking about history, and then I really wanted to listen to a documentary, so I decided to put a documentary on.
once again, a Roman lake.
Because I love listening to documentaries. They're
But
great.
somewhere in that vast dominion, an invisible killer was making its way
Oh,
toward Constantinople.
it's
with enough
disease.
ammunition to wipe out not just the capital city,
It's the
but the
rats.
entire continent.
They're coming
That
for him.
killer was bubonic
6 sweet
plague.
dreams.
This one was truly terrifying.
The bubonic plague.
50% of the population, at least in urban areas like Constantinople, was killed. 10 people. 5 of them are gone.
Damn.
Think of that, what that would mean in life if half of the people that you know today were dead tomorrow.
Rats.
Symptoms
Enjoy.
would
I
begin
will.
With a sudden fever, followed by chills, vomiting, and an increased sensitivity to
I think
light.
they found a couple cases recently of the
Within 3
bubonic plague.
days, an excruciating pain would follow in the groin, the armpits, and behind the ears. Then,
I might be
tumors would
mistaken,
form
but
all
I'm
over the body,
pretty sure I
and
heard about
violent
that.
muscle spasms would erupt. The luckier victims would fall into a coma before the disease stole their last breath.
There was, of course, no treatment. And this turns out to have been one of the most virulent pandemics in history.
Pretty nasty one.
The plague's place of origin is a mystery, but it arrived in Constantinople via cargo ship. It
They
was
did in the
carried by
US?
a
Yeah, that's what I
thick
thought.
house which hid in the fur
It was on
grass
like
of
the
hitchhikers
West
from
Coast,
parts
wasn't it?
unknown.
Also the trope of witch having cats
of
come from that
542,
age.
the first victims
Yeah,
fell
because the
in
cats would
city's
eat the
water
rats and those people wouldn't die.
Within
Because the
4
rats weren't,
months,
like
it
the
had
fleas from the
infected
rats weren't
nearly
getting to
half of
them.
the city, including the emperor himself. A small percentage of those infected managed to survive the plague. Justinian was among them.
Oh dang.
But as was the case with nearly all plague survivors, the disease permanently scarred both his body and his mind.
By all accounts,
It was on
after
one of the
plague
upper states. I think it was
Justinian
Washington
was not the man he used to be.
that
He
had
much
that
energy,
occur.
there was much vigor. And
I wanna
Justinian
say-
was pretty much sick during all the subsequent decades of his life.
But yeah, I
We're
like
told
read
that
there was a
he
few
increasingly
occurrences
tyrannical,
of the plague
increasingly
resurfacing, which is
And, There's
wild.
a memorable story about him sort of never sleeping but wandering the halls of the palace at night and plotting new ways in which to grind his subjects down.
As the pestilence reached a fever pitch, the city of Constantinople went on lockdown. Shipments into and out of the city were suspended, and those citizens that did survive quickly began running out of food. Some citizens blamed the plague on the Empress Theodora, saying it was a punishment from God for her sexual promiscuity.
Whoa.
But its effects reverberated far beyond the boundaries of her.
Of course they're gonna blame a lady.
When all was said and done, up to half of the empire's population, perhaps 100 million people,
Oof.
were struck down by the plague of Justinian.
It spread
That's not the
very
color I wanted to
rapidly in
color
the course
that.
of a year or so, all the way as far as Britain and even Ireland. And the devastation was such.
Yeah, it
that
spread
at
really
least a third of
quickly.
the
It's because they didn't know it was the
population in most cities
rats.
was killed off, and sometimes much more.
I know with never mind, it was New Mexico. Oh, okay. I know with the bubonic plague in Poland, the king of Poland at the time, he did like a very like controversial and morally ambiguous kind of thing that anyone who got sick with it, I believe he boarded up the house. They boarded up the houses completely. They boarded the people in the houses. And that actually kept the death toll in Poland from the bubonic plague relatively low. I mean, like, it kept people from dying. And a lot of the times the bubonic plague was a death sentence. So I can't really blame the Polish king for doing that. And so it needed to happen. Yeah, I mean, he kept most of his population alive because of that ruling. So, gotta do what you gotta do.
You have that kind of devastating population loss. I mean, think of it. The United States has 300 million people. What if 150 million people died? You couldn't even bury them all. But worse than that, your economic productivity tumbles, your ability to defend yourself becomes truly crippled. And I think this is one of the long-term cascading effects. And it literally took hundreds of years for the population of Europe to be restored.
I need to get rid of this part on the side here.
If the future looked bleak for Europe before, now it looked pitch black. In 542, the autumn chill brought an end to the plague in Constantinople. But throughout the 6th, 7th, and 8th centuries, new outbreaks would suddenly resurface to ravage various pockets of Europe and inflict repeated suffering on a defeated, dwindling populace.
If you had gone to Europe in the 6th and 7th centuries, the thing that would have struck you most was how empty it was and how small the towns were, if you could find towns. And you would have been struck by the towns in which only a small section was inhabited and the rest was now totally abandoned and overrun by animals.
In 548 AD,
You can probably
the Empress
combine
Theodora
that whole
died of
layer
cancer.
there.
Justinian outlived her by 17 years. Throughout his reign, his armies managed to hold on to his conquests in Western Europe, but his dream of a reunited Rome would die with him.
As soon as Justinian dies, the Byzantine Empire decides that it cannot fund these overseas forces, and so they simply pull back.
Probably one of the most tame things a king has done, to be fair. Probably, actually, yeah.
It was not a lasting influence.
And if you think it's in the interest of his people, I mean, he did what needed to be done.
Roman Empire.
As the last of the Romans retreated into history, the door of prosperity closed behind him. And with its final ties to the Eastern coffers severed, Western Europe was about to get even darker.
Woohoo!
For most people, life in these times would be nasty, brutish, and for the luckiest among them, short.
Oh gosh, that did not look clean.
By the turn of the 7th century, northwestern Europe had become a land shrouded in darkness.
That's
With
such
the
a
final
messy
withdrawal
line.
of Justinian's forces from the west, the last vestiges of Roman control had faded into history, and the continent was divided among barbarian warlords who were consumed with conquest at all costs. As disease and warfare claimed countless thousands, trade and industry shrank to a virtual standstill, and Europe's economy was once again dependent on agriculture and herding, as it had been before the rise of Rome, 1,000 years earlier.
Roads had fallen into complete disrepair, so communication was difficult. And so I think it was roughest in these areas where you were isolated. You could have your local community, but you really couldn't tell what was going on in the wider world. You couldn't tell what threats might be coming at you.
Yeah, communication was a massive thing.
And there really wasn't a sufficient population for there to be that critical mass of ideas that eventually allows human beings to make life better for themselves.
In the Dark Ages, the untamed wilderness was a source of endless fear and fascination.
Although I do believe the plague resulting in so many like male heirs dying did end up having a few women being able to succeed land ownership,
Kill livestock and summon terrifying
which was like a
forms of
never before like seen thing for that.
The Catholic Church condemned such ghost stories as pagan nonsense, but for the average Dark Age villager, the realities of daily life were just as unnerving.
It's a very regimented type of work that we do today, where you work 50 weeks per year, where you work 9 to 5 if you're lucky, 5 days a week. That sort of work pattern was non-existent during the Dark Ages. You worked according to seasonal patterns, in that there were long periods when you did nothing. During the winter months, you just sat around and drank. Those periods of doing nothing, which could stretch for months on end, alternated with periods of frantic activity during harvest time.
Gosh.
When you were sowing the crops, when you would be working dawn to dusk, you and everyone in your family old enough to walk would be out there trying to produce the food you needed to survive.
As Europe's masses struggled to scrape by, misery was one commodity that was never in short supply.
Half of your children would have died
Damn.
before they reached adolescence.
Yeah.
Probably a quarter of all newborns
Any of
died
those
before
many
the
diseases
other
that could have gotten them.
would have died by the time they were 10 or 12. And perhaps most children experienced loss of one or both parents before they reached adulthood. Today, I think it's hard to imagine what life would be like if half of your children died.
Throughout the Dark Ages,
We're very lucky in the
life
medicine we
was
have
shrouded
now.
beneath the long
We should do a
shadow of
king's
death.
tier list. That'd be kind of fun. Rate different kings from like different empires.
But there was light to be found in the darkness, and it most often shined from the local monastery.
Monasteries became some of the most important institutions in Europe. Some of the most wealthy institutions. They were centers of commerce, centers of political authority.
And that is why the church got so much money and so much power.
Jarrow, England, 730 AD. On a dark and bitterly cold night, when the outside world is crusted over like a tomb, there are signs of life visible through a single monastery window. Inside, a Benedictine monk sits hunched over his desk, surrounded by books. His name is Bede, and he is writing his most important literary achievement.
His name is Bede?
A 5-volume history of England, spanning
Little
from
Bede?
the time of Julius Caesar until his
That's
own.
such a cute name.
In an age when more books are being burned than being written, as kings and clerics everywhere condemn material that contradicts Catholicism, Bede's work is an essential link to the pre-Christian past.
Pretty much all of the texts we have from the classical period came down to us preserved in these manuscripts that were written by, copied by Christian monks in the Middle Ages.
The monks did a really,
There's
like, a
real
lot
deep-seated
of
ambivalence
work
towards it.
in
The
keeping
monks, they read Virgil, they read the classics, they copied them down. At the same time,
literature
there's always a
alive
sense you don't wanna
from
like them
older
too much,
times.
because what really matters is scripture.
Bede amassed a collection of nearly 250 books. Though perhaps not impressive by
Bede.
today's standards, in the Dark Ages, this gave him one of the most extensive libraries in England. With such a rare wealth of knowledge at his disposal, Bede was possibly the most educated individual in Europe. But he wasn't the only man of the cloth who doubled as a man of letters.
Monks were the de facto guardians of Europe's literary culture. In the violent and anarchic conditions of the period, it was increasingly difficult to have any kind of education. By the 7th century, there was virtually nobody outside of the ranks of the clergy who was still literate.
Dang. That's why a lot of
A key figure in the
Christian
development of the monastic lifestyle was Saint Benedict of
art
Nursia.
is
who
so
lived 2 centuries before
important because that's how what the masses
In
learned about the
500
stories
AD,
is they didn't
Benedict
read
left his comfortable life among
the Bible, they
nobility
just
and began
learned it
living
through
as a hermit
imagery.
in the Italian countryside.
That's why there's
But
so
as
much
word
imagery
spread about his special
in all of that
powers
art.
healing, he was forced to sacrifice his simple life of seclusion.
His reputation for sanctity and for miracle working caused people to seek him out wherever he went. People would come to him for matters as mundane as fixing a tray that they had dropped and it had broken in 2 halves, and they would give it to him and he would fuse the 2 ends together so now your tray was whole again. But they'd also come to him for extraordinary miracles, such as foretelling the future.
My tray broke,
healing the
please
sick,
help
and
me.
even raising the dead.
Raising the dead,
Recognizing
damn.
Benedict's rising star power, a group of local monks begged him to be the abbot of their monastery. Benedict heeded the call, and the monks got their man. But his brand of discipline would prove too strict for his new subordinates, and almost as quickly as they had elected him, they hatched a secret plot to eliminate him.
Wow.
Many of the people who are going into these monasteries,
Yeah, people
they come
back then
from
were
wealthy
dumb as
families,
rocks. Yeah.
people who are used to being servants. There's a story of this one notable Roman family, and their son was in the monastery, and he's holding a lamp over Benedict while Benedict eats. And he's thinking to himself, you know, who am I to be standing here holding this lamp while this guy's just sitting there eating? And I think in many cases,
Yeah, we couldn't put the lamp down?
monasteries, this idea of submitting to the
Damn.
authority of the abbot, they might have found that hard to bear at points.
In blatant disregard of their own vows, the monks tried twice to poison him. But evidently, he had God on his side. The first time they
They did
poisoned
not
his
like this
drink,
guy.
but as he prayed over the cup before taking a sip, it suddenly shattered.
Damn.
Then they poisoned his bread. But before he could
Okay,
take
if we
a
couldn't
bite,
poison the
a
drink, we gotta
raven
poison the
swooped
bread.
in and stole it away.
Oh no, the poor bird.
Having twice defied death, Benedict left the wayward
That's
abbey
actually kinda
and
crazy.
established his own chain of 12 new monasteries, nestled quietly in the Italian high country southeast of Rome. The monks living inside their walls were challenged to obey a rigorous code of ethics called the Rule of Saint Benedict.
The purpose of the Rule of Saint Benedict is to allow individuals to obliterate their wills. The will was the source of sinfulness. The will was what caused you to do bad things. If you could eliminate the will, then you could eliminate those drives that caused you to sin. For example, monks are forbidden to speak except in dire necessity, because to speak is
Forbidden to
exercise your own will.
speak? What? This guy really was trying to just make a full cult. He was like, no, 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 only I can speak. No one else speak. I want silence. Be quiet. Don't open your mouth. I don't want to hear your voices.
During the Dark Ages, thousands of men and women flooded into monasteries and convents as a refuge from the chaos of the wider world. Thousands more were forced in by parents looking to secure God's favor for their families.
Oh, great. Because that's definitely how you do it.
Unwilling to embrace its strictness and simplicity, religious life
Force your
was a
kid into
heavy
the
cross to
clergy.
bear.
We see, for instance, nuns trying to climb over the monastery walls to escape because they
Wow.
were unhappy there. Now, of course, in these accounts, which are mainly taken from saints' lives, these are women who are described as being possessed by the devil, by
Of course.
sort of being taken over by demonic forces. That would be the
She's
only thing that would
possessed
force
by
them
the
to leave from
devil.
these
She
places.
doesn't want to
You have
be
remember,
forced
in
to
many
do
cases,
things for
those
the
who entered into
clergy.
monasteries were not there of their own free will.
She was sent there by her parents. She must be possessed by the devil if she doesn't want to be
This
here.
church had become the dominant cultural force in Europe.
Even though we're making her do all sorts of
While his
labor.
disciples were flocking to monasteries in search of solitude.
Great.
Further east, the followers of another prophet were taking up arms in search of conquest. On the dusty shores of North Africa and Arabia, mighty armies were waging war not in the name of Christ, but of the Quran. Their religious movement would spread even farther and faster than Christianity,
Wait, huh? What are we listening to? We're listening to Europe in the wake of the fall of Rome.
The only thing
Good old Dark Ages, man.
was one Christian king who had seen them coming.
Isn't it cozy? Don't you just love listening to the Dark Ages while you draw and get cozy in the morning? Or I guess it's the afternoon now.
732 AD.
It's like listening to true crime. You get cozy, you get a blanket on you, you put on your true crime or your Dark Ages, and you draw. Yes. Yes, exactly. It's just what you do.
The Moors want to expand their empire and import their
Moors.
faith in
I don't think
Rome.
I've heard a lot about the
Prophet
Moors
Islam
actually.
lived a century
I've heard
earlier.
more about like the monks and
Christians wanted to
stuff.
keep them out at all costs.
Well, of course, how dare they bring their religion into our religion?
Local threat to themselves.
God, religious
Muslims
war
believed
is so stupid.
that They were there to rule over the earth and bring
Can't we all
about
just
God's
coexist?
justice and institute
And just
God's
let people
order.
be
And so
people
in
and
that
do
sense,
whatever
it
they
might have
want?
been what you could call a religious mission to
It
the
feels like
conquest.
school again. No, it's not school. It's self-learning for fun.
Too busy fighting each other to fight anyone else.
They're too busy fighting each other. Sounds about right.
In 730, Moorish general Abdul Rahman al-Ghafiqi crossed into France with an army of 50,000 men.
Isn't that most like things? They're busy fighting each other before they can like really do things. Didn't the bubonic plague happen at a time during like a supposed holy war? I know there was one thing. There was one war where there was these two wars. One was being sieged, the other one was sieging, and the sieging army ended up contracting the bubonic plague, and the city that was being sieged was like, oh yes, God is on our side. He's smiting our enemies. And then next thing they know, their entire city is dying from the same plague that just took out the enemy army. It's a whole mess of things.
Moved very, very fast.
Is that part of the test? I'm not gonna test you. I'm just saying the facts that I remember from other documentaries I've watched and things I've read.
The Moors tore through southern France with terrifying tenacity, devastating the regions of Aquitaine and Gascony, and leaving a legion of enemy dead behind at the Battle of the River Garonne. One Moorish fighter wrote that his army went through all places like a desolating storm. A Christian chronicler lamented that God alone knows the number of the slain.
Yeesh. To be fair, it's been a long time since I've watched a history documentary. It's like a regular thing for me. I had a whole binge of... Okay. A few years ago, I watched the Titanic, like the movie, the first time. It was right on the anniversary of it. And after watching the movie Titanic, I was like, I have to watch every single Titanic documentary I can find. So I did that. And then I was like, that's not enough. I have to watch every single shipwreck documentary I can find. And I did that until I ended up going down a YouTube rabbit hole of watching cruise ship wrecks from like more modern times. And then after I finally got the itch of needing to watch shipwreck documentaries satisfied, my first thought was, man, I really want to go on a cruise now. So I go on these documentary
But there,
binges.
the commander of the Frankish army stood guard, waiting patiently for the enemy. to
I
strike.
enjoy it.
And when it did,
It's a great background noise too, and you learn something interesting. I don't want to sink. No.
Does he think he can
I want to
win?
go party on a boat.
Don't know.
That's all I want to do.
He has to win because there's no other answer. The Islamic forces will continue to attack and continue to fill France with Islam unless he defends.
the general's name was Charles the Hammer Martel.
Charles the Hammer. That's actually a sick name. What?
Commander-in-chief of the Frankish army.
Charles the Hammer. I love like the old commander names or just the old random names that people were given. of like who comes up with this kind of stuff. Did he like have a giant hammer that he would fight with? Like he was just the hammer. Parties happen on small boats, not big boats. Parties happen on cruise ships, man. A little dinghy. Nah. I'm gonna go on a cruise, have a big party. I haven't been on a cruise in years. The first cruise I went on was in Alaska. That's like the only cruise I've been on. Why am I saying it's like the first one? It's the only one. No big boats sink. Small boats sink too.
To do so, he would first have to convince his own countrymen to trade their plowshares for swords. In Dark Ages Europe, most troops were farmers who were only available to fight between the spring planting and the fall harvest.
Submarine cruise? I mean, they're already sunk, so
understood that the Moorish threat couldn't be met without a
it can still sink, but it could also implode.
At his disposal.
I don't think I ever want to go on a submarine. That actually scares me more than being on a boat. Although it would be a faster, well, it depends on how the submarine, okay. It depends on how the submarine, like, sinks, if it does end up sinking. Because if it's, like, a crack and, like, it just kind of leaks and it's not at a low enough depth for it to just fully implode immediately, then it would be kind of a slow and miserable death. Because you're like, man, I'm going to drown. I know I'm going to drown. This sucks. Unless you find an air pocket, someone's able to rescue you. But if you're in the middle of the ocean, no one's going to be able to rescue you. I would much rather be in a submarine that's at a low enough depth, if I was going to die in a submarine, that it just immediately implodes and kills me on impact. That'd be so much better than, like, a slow death. I would prefer that. That's only if, that's why also why I would never go in a submarine, is submarines scare me. I don't want to be in a submarine. Okay, never be in a submarine, man. I'd rather be on a boat and have the maybe false thought that I could maybe survive this if I'm able to get on like some driftwood or something and get rescued. Or be set adrift in a boat, find me. You have much better chances of surviving. Also, I feel prepared after watching a ton of shipwreck documentaries, okay?
Charles came very close to being excommunicated. That's to say, being damned to hell for eternity. The church pulled back at just the last minute.
Oh, Charles the Hammer wasn't excommunicated. Let's go.
From the church and used it to finance the development of an army that could be trained.
It's like, no, we can't excommunicate Charles the Hammer. Should watch more tornado documentaries again? Yeah, we should. Are you saying you're gonna watch some tornado documentaries with me, Nico?
Abdul Rahman maintained his march northward into the realm of an enemy he had severely underrated.
The perception of the Franks as warriors was not particularly impressive. Abdurrahman may not have been paying as close attention to Charles Martel as he probably needed to in this case.
Yeah, sure, you'd be up for it. Someone hasn't asked me to go on a cruise with their family, and I said nope so fast. Dang, so you wouldn't go on a cruise with me in Plaza Jammy?
When the Moors arrived,
bummer.
They were stunned to find such a formidable force awaiting them.
Hell no!
For
wow.
6 days, the
all
two
right.
armies stood firm, waiting for the other to make the first move.
Margarita on a cruise. Do you like pina coladas? Getting caught in the rain. My first pina colada was on a cruise, but it was a virgin pina colada because I was underage, so I couldn't actually drink a real one. I don't think you understand how bad my luck is. But cruise ships sinking is a very rare occurrence.
Charles Martel's infantry is great, and they stand like a wall. That is what the sources on the Muslim side say. That is what the sources on the Christian side say.
While his infantry kept the Moors occupied,
last time I was on a boat, a storm hit it. Did it sink?
With a covert mission behind
I mean, a storm hit the boat that I was on, and I got really seasick, so I couldn't eat the midnight chocolate buffet, and I'm still upset about that. I had one slice of cake, and then I had to go back to my room because I was so nauseous. It was right in the middle of the midnight chocolate buffet. There was 2 men. I was so excited for this buffet. It was one of the main things I was looking forward to on this cruise. I went down to the cafeteria area they had. It was awesome. They had chocolate everywhere. There was 2 men that they had that were part of the crew that were covered in chocolate and had little fruit headdresses. I remember them so vividly. It was so freaking funny. They were in like, they must have had like some sort of swimsuit shorts on or something because they were literally head to toe covered in chocolate, eyes closed, sitting there. I kind of wonder if they had fallen asleep from how long they had to sit there, but they were definitely crewmen. And they had their fruit headpieces. It's it was so funny to see. But there was so much chocolate. There was cakes, there was like fruits covered in chocolate, there was all sorts of different chocolate like desserts. It looked so good. I only got 1 piece of cake. I sat down and I was already starting to feel seasick because we were rocking so much from like the storm. I ate like part of the cake. I don't think I even finished it. They probably had fun putting on the cocoa. That must have been one hell of a shower after that, I'm sure. But I finished eating like part of the cake. I didn't even eat all of it, and I was feeling so miserable. I had to go back to my cabin. I think I was like maybe 12 at the time. I can't remember exactly what year this was, but I was like pretty young. It sucked. I was so upset about it. I want to go to another midnight chocolate buffet. I think I think that should just be a thing. And then for the adults, they should have like chocolate cocktails. That'd be amazing.
Cutting off the head of the snake from the perspective
Go straight from chocolate buffet to cutting off the head with the snake.
That encouraged people to retreat from the front lines to the tents, and it convinced a lot of people that a general retreat was being called.
General Abdul Rahman tried to rally his fleeing forces, but as he screamed out orders to stand and fight,
You just buy a lot of chocolate at plazas. Let's do it. Let's have our own midnight chocolate buffet at the con. That'd be amazing. Read my boat problems. A whale came out of nowhere, so we had to stop in the storm so the whale didn't murk us.
It was his stunning victory at the Battle of Tours that earned Martel the nickname.
Did you get to see the whale at least? Because that's pretty lucky.
At a time when many parts of the old Roman and Persian empires were falling under Muslim rule, Charles was credited as the savior of Christianity.
The savior. Charles the Hammer.
Martel was quick to stand up and basically say, look what I just did. I'm the defender of Christendom, and I helped turn back these forces that threatened us.
Over the next 7 decades, Martel's descendants would transform his Christian kingdom into an empire.
Yes, you did get to see the whale. That's sick.
Enough to assume the title Emperor of Rome. That grandson of Charles the Hammer would be remembered as the father of Europe.
Wow.
His name was Charlemagne, and he was the greatest king of the Dark Ages.
Charlemagne. Are we gonna get into him next? Cover Plaza and Chocolate too, don't forget. You know, I don't think it would actually take much convincing to do that.
Christmas Day, 800 AD.
Why do you sigh at us?
Basilica in Rome, a new emperor is crowned, the first in more than 3 centuries.
Plaza, you do it. Just for shits and giggles. You do it for the plot.
Pope is on hand to do the crowning.
Just to say that you were covered in chocolate at Dragon Con.
The new emperor and the most powerful man in Europe since the days of ancient Rome is Charlemagne, king of the Franks. Charlemagne would be remembered as one of the most illuminating figures of the Dark Ages.
The only problem I have with is Mag is going to look at us sadly the whole time. Oh,
He never ever lost a military.
he'd be like, "You're eating so much good stuff, and you're not letting me have
Once
any."
again, to education, he reestablished
Please,
the
please, sir, may I have some more?
empire. Any title that's given to him is too few.
At its largest,
Please, sir, I just want a taste.
from the North Sea to the Mediterranean,
That would be
and encompassed
Magnus the
modern
entire
France,
time.
Germany, Holland, Switzerland, Austria, Poland, and most
What if he used cheese instead? You want to be covered in fondue?
not since the fall of Rome had so much of the continent been under the
So
command of
Magnus
one
can have some?
But the only thing Roman about this
Feed
was
the
its
poor.
size.
Indeed.
It isn't the same empire. There's nothing that is the same. The urban areas have fallen, trade is non-existent, the economic structure, the transportation structure, engineering has all faltered. Charlemagne does his best to build up education once more because that's destroyed. It's going to be very, very long.
What if we have just cheese for? Yeah, we'll have like a little cheese feast for Magnus, and we'll have some charcuterie for us too, for sure. We gotta have some.
As the founder of
It's
the
gonna
Holy
be a
Roman
chocolate and
Empire,
charcuterie
he attempted to
buffet.
single-handedly pull Europe out of the trenches
I'm actually
of
getting really
darkness.
hungry thinking about this now.
When Charlemagne's father died in 768, the Frankish kingdom was split between him and his brother Carloman.
Frankish property was always divided amongst the male heirs, and in the case of royalty, it was the same thing. And as a result, Charlemagne, his brother, had to share power. They weren't too keen on this arrangement and weren't very fond of each other.
Food need food.
For
Yeah,
3
exactly.
years, the brothers ruled separate halves of their father's kingdom.
I mean, I see
corresponding
why
totally
they would have definitely split like the property to make it even for like heirs, but at the same
History says he
time,
dies. That's all. We want to believe that Charlemagne had something.
anyone
to do
who's
with it.
slightly powerful
Maybe he did. We
is
will never
going
know
to
for
be
sure.
who's like power hungry is
At the
going
age
to
of
want to
24,
take everything.
Charlemagne suddenly found himself the sole shareholder of the largest single kingdom in Europe.
Can't wait to spend most of the time we're all hanging out with just Mag. Wow, you're only gonna hang out with Magnus? Rude.
Over the course of his 46-year reign, he would launch more than 50 military campaigns designed to expand his empire and save souls. As his armies seized countless new territories,
Yeah, save
they
souls
gave the
for
conqueror
sure.
a simple choice: embrace the Christian God or meet that God immediately.
Wow.
He thought he really was going to save them by making them Christian, even if he had to do it at the point of a sword.
I'm gonna save you, so
Charlemagne
help
conquered the
me.
Saxons of northern Germany in 782. He condemned 4,500
Oh my
tribal leaders
God.
to die by the headsman's sword after they were caught worshiping false gods.
Wow.
For days afterward, the river Aller ran red with blood. The massacre became known as the Bloody Verdict of Verdun.
This brutal execution.
This kind of stuff never ends well
Part of a bigger.
for the person
Charlemagne meant business.
doing it.
Anyone who's caught worshiping.
Had to learn everything about him to
gods
steal
or
him.
performing pagan rites,
Yeah,
it's a death
true.
sentence. Anyone who cremates someone, a dead body, instead of burying them as a Christian, is executed. Anyone who
Wow.
disobeys the king is executed. Anyone who is not baptized, who refuses to be baptized as a Christian, that is again the death penalty. So the execution on that day, I think, is just one sign of this brutal and ultimately successful policy that Charlemagne pursued in the region.
OMG, your new monitor is here? Let's go!
Christian soldiers enforced
Go get it.
God's will on new frontiers. Charlemagne sought to enforce his own within the borders of his kingdom.
That's erase. We don't want erase.
To tighten his grip on an increasingly vast dominion, he divided it into 350 counties and put each in the charge of a count who answered directly to him. Charlemagne made sure each one knew he was being closely watched.
He traveled constantly. It was
The smell came from the shirt? Okay. He found out where the smell came from.
Isolated from what was going on. And he also had
The
a
scent
vision
that's
of
awakened
what it meant to be a
memories.
king. Like the great kings of the period after Alexander the Great, he believed that he had to increase the social, the political, and the intellectual organization of his society. And in putting all of these complicated aspects of rule together, he distinguished himself from every other ruler, certainly for the 300 years before him.
As Charlemagne traveled far and wide throughout his burgeoning territory, he resolved to rekindle the long-lost culture of creativity that had been extinguished so many centuries before. Throughout his empire, he built a chain of royal schools that would ignite a new age
They
of
put
learning
that sketch.
and provide children of all classes with access to an education. Even the king himself got in on the act. In an age when few rulers could even recite the alphabet, Charlemagne made a concerted effort to read and write.
This was
Mm.
very unusual that a king would actually devote serious effort to trying to learn how to read and to write as a grown man. Reading and writing were the work of the monks. They were not the work of a warrior. They were not the work of somebody who was engaged in practical political rule that often involved making very difficult military decisions. It was a luxury that simply
There
didn't
we
seem
go.
necessary.
Although it wasn't one of his job requirements, there were few things Charlemagne was more passionate about than learning. One of those things was women. Over
Ah,
the
yes,
course of his
women.
life, Charlemagne had 5 wives, 5
Dang.
known mistresses, and at least 20 children.
Holy
In the
shit,
period of
man.
Charlemagne, the whole idea of marriage as a sacrament hadn't even really been developed the way we think of it in this day and age. It's really not until much later that the church managed to enforce the notion that you should have only one marriage between a man and a woman, and that
20
it
kids,
would be
that's
for life.
crazy.
And so the
Charlemagne
notion
was
of
getting
Charlemagne
around.
multiple wives and concubines, this would have been pretty standard, really, for someone of his background.
By the year 800, Charlemagne was nearly 60 years old and had ruled for more than 3 decades.
Yeah, dude lived for a long time, too.
He already had a resume that would cement his celebrity status in Europe's history books. But on Christmas Day, in St. Peter's Basilica, he added one final feather to his cap.
One of Charlemagne's biographers claimed that when Charlemagne walked into the church on Christmas Day 800, he had no idea that the imperial coronation was going to take place, and that he later regretted the fact that he had ever been crowned emperor. On the other hand,
Aw.
did Charlemagne really walk into that church not knowing what was about to happen?
Like, you'd think he probably would have known, but he's doing that for the...
Charlemagne ruled as Emperor of the West for 14 years. It was during these years, the twilight of his reign, that he would face his most daunting political challenge. That challenge would come not from the Byzantines, nor the Moors, nor any of Europe's traditional foes. Instead, it would descend on Europe like a cold northern wind and drag it village by village back into the darkness from which it had just begun to emerge.
They literally were out of control. And they would kill everything in sight.
Just wave after wave of this, huh? Is this the Vikings? Coming in?
June 8th, 793. The wrath of Satan is unleashed on a house of God in northern England. In the village of Lindisfarne, a barbaric band of heathens is tearing apart the local monastery. They are on the hunt for treasure, and they have no qualms.
I feel
about
like this is
slaughtering anyone
the
who stands in
Vikings.
their way. The savage raid is the work of just a small group of men, but it will mark a giant setback for mankind. The Viking Age
Yep.
has begun, and the Dark
I knew it.
Ages are about to get a whole lot darker.
A whole
Nobody
lot
anticipated
darker.
being on the northern sea and being attacked from abroad. Pirates may have existed along the channel, but nobody had ever seen them that far north. And suddenly these Vikings come in, they find no opposition, and they absolutely sack the place. And what do they get back? The greatest wealth of England. This was like putting up a sign in any Viking village. Uncle Olaf wants you.
The raiders had
Uncle
sailed from
Olaf wants
Scandinavia,
you.
where overpopulation had begun forcing young drifters out onto the high seas in a hunt for new land and high adventure. And with each big score, like the one at Lindisfarne, the monasteries to the south looked more and more like banks waiting to be robbed.
Dang.
Walls. Monks had no weapons. There were no defending forces. Ultimately, it simply becomes an idea of survival. If you're going to be a raider, you're going to want to raid where you're least likely to die.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense.
The best pirates, the best raiders that the ancient and medieval world had ever seen. I think it was the unexpectedness of their arrival. You really couldn't tell where they might show up because their ships were both seaworthy for ocean voyages, but because of their shallow draft, they could sail right up the rivers to cities that were far inland and didn't expect to be subjected to waterborne raids. And so when they appeared totally unexpected and sent in their killing machines, the Vikings could seem unstoppable.
In the early 9th century, during the last years of Charlemagne's reign as emperor, the Vikings began terrorizing any vulnerable villages within a stone's throw of water. And as the raiders became more and more brazen, they set their sights on the heart of the Holy Roman Empire.
In an attempt to fend off the Vikings, Carolingians began to pay them protection money. And these payments were so enormous that there were years when the empire had no currency anymore. There was no
Wow,
money
they paid the Vikings that much money?
and people had to barter.
Dang.
This was a significant
I also
setback
heard
for the recovery of Europe.
that apparently the Englishmen had a really bad time of their woman being stolen by the Vikings as well, because the Vikings were so much more clean kept than the Englishmen.
The Emperor Charlemagne died of natural causes at the age of 72 in 814, while the Viking raiders were still warming up. They would spend the next several decades honing their craft and perfecting the art of savagery.
They left legends that were then copied down later. They're wonderful at telling the stories of the Vikings. And for example, the story of Egil, who at 6 years of age gets defeated in a ball game by one of his friends. Egil goes home, grabs the axe, comes back, and actually plants it in the guy's skull.
Oh my gosh.
His mother, instead of being rather upset, looks at Egil and says, "He'll make a good Viking someday."
One Viking was known as the Children's Man because of his refusal to kill children, which all the other Vikings saw was hilarious. And anytime you're attacked by someone whose last name is Skull Splitter, you have to be concerned.
The Vikings took their horror show.
I love that.
on
I love that they had like last names
terrorizing
Skull Splitter.
audiences as far and wide as Iceland, the Middle East, and even North America.
Wow.
But their favorite target was their first, Great Britain.
Britain is very vulnerable to sea invasion. There is no place in the British Isles that is more than a couple of days' march from the sea. And for the Vikings,
Crazy
whose
to
great
think they made it to like
strength was their
North
expertise
America
at
too.
sailing. In
Got to go
Ireland,
nap
this
time.
Vikings
Have a good
were
nap.
attacked
Sweet
because
dreams.
They could appear anywhere within the British Isles with almost no forewarning at all.
In 866, the Vikings took aim at the British kingdom of Northumbria. But this time, they weren't just interested in loot. They wanted land, lots of it. So rather than sending a couple dozen men on a garden variety raid, they came ashore with several thousand warriors.
Dang.
It was the largest group of Vikings ever assembled, and came to be known as the Great Heathen Army. The head heathen was a massive man oddly named Ivar the Boneless. Theories
Ivar
about
the
as to how he
Boneless.
got that name.
He was really, really
Stories,
flexible.
Oh, he had only cartilage in his legs. He had no bones. Well, this is probably a physical impossibility. Maybe he was impotent, and this was referring to his lack of sexual prowess. I don't think you'll ever know.
What we do know is that he had to be studied around.
Damn, imagine being named after the lack of sexual prowess. That's rough, man. That is oof.
On a shield because he was unable to walk.
Whatever its cause, Ivar's abnormality didn't cripple his drive toward conquest. He had his sights set on northern England's most precious prize, the city of York. Within its towering walls lived his arch enemy, a callous and corrupt king named Aella.
Aella is supposed to have killed his father, and this inspired Ivar to spend the rest of his life trying to figure out a way that he could get revenge.
After a brutal and bloody battle, York fell to Ivar and his great heathen army.
Damn.
King Aiella managed to escape, but he couldn't stay away. 4 months later, he tried to recapture his city. But instead, it was he who was captured. And the Vikings, never known for their
What if he's really flexible but historian just fucked up and started saying he doesn't get bitches? Dang. I don't know if it's worse. If like he was actually named like he can't get it up, or if historians just got it wrong and you're known to be like that in your death.
Open up the torso.
When in reality you got all the
Allow
bitches.
the ribs to be shown, and then pull the lungs.
Oh, hey, that! Yeah, the eagle.
Wings.
They did that while you were alive,
Image of the
which is
kingdom,
horrifying.
an eagle.
And this then, because of the bloodiness of it all and the fact that it would still be red, would be called the blood eagle.
Yeah, the bloody eagle.
Yeah, pretty gruesome.
With
They did that to you while you were
Aiella off
alive.
his chest, Ivar turned his attention to conquering the rest of Britannia. But while fighting the Irish near Dublin in 873, the boneless barbarian breathed his last. His great army endured and returned to England, where it continued to carve up territories at will. But there was one kingdom in the deep south that refused to crumble. It was ruled by a resourceful and resilient warrior king whose name was Alfred the Great.
Alfred the Great. Okay.
Realized that the Vikings preferred raids and lightning campaigns, and they didn't want to have to attack fortresses. So what did Alfred do? He built fortresses.
And they were earth and wood fortifications that Alfred had constructed, where the people would go and hide and take their goods and take their cattle and other things that the Vikings might want to remove from them. And once they got in there, the Vikings could not attack them. They simply did not have the siege technology or the willfulness to do so.
So by
More like Alfred the Okay.
against his enemies, Alfred was basically able to do, what Muhammad Ali called his rope-a-dope strategy. He really let the enemy wear themselves out fighting against him, and then mobilize his population in a way that could then counteract the strengths of the attackers.
It took 25 years of almost constant fighting for Alfred to
Wow.
bring down the great heathen army.
That's a long time.
By the time he died in 899, he had achieved lasting peace for his kingdom. But it would take another half-century to expunge the Vikings from England once and for all. While some sailed off to plunder new frontiers across the Atlantic, others quietly settled down and assimilated into Europe's Christian culture. After spending more than a century on red alert, Viking victims throughout the continent crossed their fingers that the darkest days were finally over. Before the
Psych!
skies cleared completely, there would be one more series of catastrophic storms.
You thought you were done? Never. This is the Dark Ages, baby.
The people of northwestern Europe had endured a seemingly endless barrage of bad fortune for more than 600 years. Those families,
That's
not
a
torn apart
crazy
by the
long amount of
aggression
time.
ruthless conquerors were confronted with severe economic depression, religious persecution, and the devastation of rampant disease. As the Viking threat finally abated, Europe's shell-shocked masses were desperate for a new dawn. But the end of the Viking Age didn't trigger the end of the Dark Ages. For although foreign raiders no longer threatened the coasts and riverbanks of Christendom, there was an equally menacing threat lying within, one concealed beneath thick plates of shining armor.
Your typical medieval knight had much more in common with Tony Soprano than with Lancelot. They're thugs. They're muscle. They're violent individuals whose primary purpose is to beat people up. And the owner of a castle would unleash knights on the peasants of a neighboring territory, and they would enter the village, assaulting people, taking property, in an attempt to force these peasants to accept the lordship of the owner of the castle.
In the decades after the last Viking attacks, Europe was teeming with unemployed soldiers, trained killers who found it hard to hang up their swords.
The Viking invasions had done a lot to militarize Europe. A lot more soldiers and so forth were put together into armies. Once the threat is over, what do you do with all these
Gotta
soldiers?
love that it just never ends. Right?
With
These
no
poor
immediate
people.
danger
They're like,
of
oh,
war,
finally the Vikings are
soldiers
gone. We're
relied
gonna be
on
safe,
local
right?
peasants who were wealthy
Nope.
enough to hire their own private armies.
Never.
Local lords who are ruling over these very small areas, they become the principal sources of authority. These are people who built castles, not necessarily to protect the countryside from outside raiders, but to subjugate the countryside, to enforce their will upon the local peasants, to take from them what they needed. This period, particularly if you were a peasant, would have been a pretty rough time to be living in.
Sounds pretty rough.
In a desperate bid to stem the violence, the Catholic Church tried to place limits on when, where, and against whom the knights could strike. And to get the knights to pay attention, the clergy relied on the most powerful weapons in their arsenal: the clothes, blood, and bones of the saints.
They would gather all the relics from a given area and collect them in one place, often in an open field, giant pile. And then they would summon all the knights and they would show them the pile of relics and demand that they swear to obey the peace and truth of God. Otherwise, the saints associated with these relics would attack them and punish them.
Same.
And so when you're confronted with these relics, it often had a powerful psychological effect on knights. Sometimes they just collapse senseless on the ground at the thought of all of these collected saints punishing them.
To reinforce the power of the relics, the Church issued 2 proclamations detailing God's position on war. They were called the Peace of God.
That's kind of
and the Truce
ironic
of God.
with how much they used
The peace of
Holy
God
Wars.
proclaimed that certain individuals, peasants, widows, priests, individuals who cannot defend themselves, should not be attacked by knights. The truce of God proclaimed that certain periods of time should be free of knightly violence entirely. That Lent or the Sundays, the period around Christmas,
Of course.
those should be periods when there was no warfare.
The bishops were trying to essentially redirect the energies of the nobility, many of whom had access to armament but didn't possess land, so they didn't have anything really to do with that energy, and rechannel that energy in other directions.
One direction
I mean, I guess that's
everyone
good
could
in a way,
endorse was
but
the Middle East.
oh, lovely.
Ever since non-Christian forces conquered the Holy Land 4 centuries earlier, murmurs of a military mission to liberate it had echoed across Christian Europe. Now, with the Viking threat a thing of the past, and soldiers everywhere itching for a cause, the time seemed right to launch a crusade.
The Crusades were undertaken as a kind of vengeance on behalf of Jesus. And so in the kind of fantastical imagination, they had this really vivid picture of Jesus's home being defiled by this pagan alien presence. And it seemed to strike a chord.
In 1095, Pope Urban II kicked off the First Crusade by declaring Deus Vult, Latin for God wills it. Over the next 200 years, a total of 9 brutal crusades devastated the Holy Land and its Muslim inhabitants. In all, 8 generations of fighters took part in the bloody seesaw struggle for Jerusalem. Ultimately, the Crusaders came away with no permanent conquests, but they returned with something even more valuable: knowledge.
Europe, with the Crusades, turned the corner from the Dark Ages. There's medical information and surgical information that's brought back. Books are brought back. Languages are brought back. Aristotle's brought back. Everything is brought back. So the Crusades really do change Europe in a way that we have not seen before.
The Crusades spawned a rebirth of trade and architecture unseen in Europe since the fall of Rome. Massive stone fortresses were built to replace
Kerman, thank you so much for the follow.
staple of Dark Age
Hope you're
defense.
enjoying the
Military
documentary
supply lines
learning
opened up
while
new
we get
markets for
cozy.
goods flowing in and out across the Mediterranean. Roads that had been neglected since Roman times were rebuilt to accommodate the flow of troops to and from battle. And tales of exotic lands to the east sparked a new boom in tourism. But the Crusades and their consequences are just a few of countless factors that contributed to Europe's medieval awakening.
It's thought that around the year 1000, that Europe became somewhat warmer, that it emerged from a period of what's known as a mini ice age. And this seems to have made it possible to cultivate lands that had formerly been considered quite marginal. So starting around the year 1000, we
You're
see
at work,
growth in
and anything is
population
better
in
than the
Western
wall/head smashing I had to do here.
If you look
Aw.
at the
Well,
archaeology
hopefully
of the town during the
you don't
11th,
have too
12th
much more
centuries,
time
the
left
13th
there.
century, it's the exact opposite of what happened.
You're stuck in an Outlook login loop. Oh no.
Walls are rebuilt bigger and
I'm
bigger
so
and
glad I don't
bigger
have to use
to
Outlook
try
anymore.
and encompass this growing population, and that suggests that Europe had, at long last, turned the corner.
Europe was on the verge of one of the most productive and creative periods of its entire history. Things like the great Gothic cathedrals, the universities, the law courts and legal systems, all of those were created in the 12th and 13th centuries. So following this long period of darkness, there came a tremendous explosion of really brilliant cultural achievements.
In the popular mind, the Dark Ages are an empty void between the glory of Rome.
Gotta go through
and the
management to
triumph
reset
of
your
the
password in your
Renaissance.
work computer so you're locked out.
But a closer look reveals
Oof.
a period
That sucks,
writhing
Ray.
with chaos, turbulence, and humanity. A time when new life emerged from the scorched earth of post-Roman Europe, only to perish again amidst the perilous conditions of the age. If there was ever a time that tried men's souls, this was it.
There was political chaos. There were injustices. It's certainly true. But what's most admirable and human about the people who lived during the era of the so-called Dark Ages is the efforts they made, sometimes successful and sometimes not, to illuminate themselves in the way that mattered most to them before God.
This was a time when you see the landscape of Europe as we think of it today. With the cities like Paris and London, these things all have their roots in the era that we call the Dark Ages. So on that level, were they so dark? Perhaps we live in the Dark Age. I mean, look what just happened in the 20th century with everything from mustard gas to atom bombs. I mean, who's to say?
The sunsets and sunrises of civilization are inevitably
Could be worse to get up no
separated by
job. That is
intervals
true.
of
It's always good to be
isolated
employed.
darkness.
At least have some source of income.
The night that followed
Love how
the
we're
Roman
ending this with
sunset
screams.
was long and uncertain, and the turmoil of life
Rah!
consumed countless men. But mankind itself did not yield. With its gaze fixed on a distant future, it persevered. Until the first rays of a new dawn, at long last, penetrated the horizon.
Dun dun. Man, I feel like there's a lot of different periods in history, especially human history, where it's like an uprise in technological advancements and medicine and things, and giant empires, and then the big fall of them, the chaos that surrounds afterwards, warring periods, and then the resurgence of those larger kingdoms and empires and rinse repeat. All that fun stuff in history. Anyways, I think this is a good place to stop. I think I'm gonna get some food. I've made some good progress on the fusion model. First time saving, that's scary. And then let's see. Let me send you guys off to someone who's streaming right now. Let's see who's streaming. Oh, there's a Lynn Bowie and a Jen. All right, it's been a minute. You're almost done setting up your monitor? Heck yeah, let's go. I'm gonna send you guys off to Lynn Bowie. She's playing some Where Winds Meet. She just started. So let's get raiding her. But thank you everyone for coming and hanging out with me and watching a little a cozy documentary. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and have a good day or night. And go give Lynn some love, okay? She's very sweet. Bye-bye. Have a good rest of your day or night. Bye-bye. And give Lynn all of the love. Alrighty.